All right, how you guys doing? Can you hear me okay? You still have an echo? If the sound is good, put in a Wi-Fi for me. If the sound is good, you guys, I'm back. Okay, I'm not sure. Right after I logged off, the platform crashed. So I guess something was going on with the platform. Anyway, I'm back, you guys. Better late than never, right? Welcome to the Kilo Bravo Delta Zone. My name is Keith B. Dixon. This is how we roll sometimes when it's live and you got to do everything by yourself. I'm also dual broadcasting on YouTube right now. So if you guys are interested in watching on YouTube, maybe you want to put it up on your big screen TV. Hey, that's an option for you. So maybe you have Apple TV and you're watching me on Apple TV. So, anyhow, tonight we're going to be talking about how I use LumeCubes to illuminate the front of a residential property, or as you guys know, I photograph residential properties. I have been probably just as long as I've been a photographer. It was actually one of my first entries into photography, and I always wanted to figure out a way to add light or use what we call additive light to a situation, but I didn't like the idea of using flash because it was just too clunky to carry around, too hard to judge. And here's the other thing. I didn't like using the big strobes because it kind of slowed me down. The price points in real estate photography, especially for homes that are about 25, I'm going to say between 3,000 and 2,500 square feet, the price points are kind of tricky, and it really varies based on the demographic of the realtor and the location, the geographical location that you're in. So what I want to do tonight is I'm going to show you just how I work and how I get things done and why I do the things that I do. What's up from Arkansas? So let me see names and locations. Let me see who's in the scope first, and then we're going to get started. Names and locations, and I'm also, hey, Michelle on the YouTube side. So we have Captain Antoinette. Yes, Captain Antoinette. LaFaithia, what's going on? There's Michelle. Captain Amber, Steve, what's up, Steve Perry? Rome, you're in Arkansas. What? What are you doing in Arkansas? Nicole from Cincinnati, Stephanie from Florida, Glenn from Texas. What's up, Glenn? There he is, my man Glenn. What's up? Terrence from Detroit. Terrence Golf, yes sir. Amber and Joe, yes. Captains extraordinaire. Deb Davis, Calvin from Fort Worth, my man Martin from Cleveland, yes. Michelle is watching on YouTube too as well. Okay, so let's get started, you guys, because the information I'm gonna share with you tonight is gonna be pretty important. It's gonna be short and sweet to a certain extent. Shooting models in Arkansas. Okay, that explains it. Okay, so you guys know about the Bomb Squad community, and here's a new development for the Bomb Squad community. If you are definitely interested in our community, you can find us on Facebook. You can use the hashtag Bomb Squad in a group search, do a request to join, and I will definitely look through your profile and add you. It's really just that simple. So you'll see the red banner, and that's the Bomb Squad. So here's one of the new developments. If you are interested in becoming a full-fledged member of the Bomb Squad, on Friday night we're going to do what's called Midnight Mass. You don't want to miss it. I usually give away some great prizes, some really good prizes. Last year I gave away a strobe setup. So I give away good prizes, and we're going to talk about Bomb Squad businesses and where we want to go, kind of what you guys think, and we do promotions. And here's the other thing that I'm going to do that's really different, you guys. Here's what I'm going to do that's really different. In order to become a full-fledged Bomb Squad member, you have to attend Detroit. You can still be a member. You can still join. You can still get in the community, but you won't be a full-fledged Bomb Squad member. We're going to figure out how we do that, whether it be a specific T-shirt. I don't know. It's going to be something. A full-fledged member will have an identification in the Bomb Squad, and we're going to introduce a new name, a new community name, but the Bomb Squad will be our insignia. So That will be, the Bomb Squad will be like a nickname, and we will have a professional name because I want to push this community out into the community so that we can help people. And I want people to take us serious. So we're going to go, we'll still use the Bomb Squad. That'll be our insignia. And, like the flying tigers and all that kind of stuff. Well, we'll just be the Bomb Squad. It'll be our insignia. And in order to wear that insignia, to embrace that insignia, you have to be a full-fledged member. Doesn't mean that you can't be in the Bomb Squad community, but to be a full-fledged member, you have to. And just if you guys are curious about how you become a captain and how you become a commander is a lifetime appointment. So once you become a commander, it is for life. You are in. There's no out. And to become a captain, it's all based on character, and you have to get a unanimous vote from all the other captains, commanders, and advisors on our committee who you may or may not know. And that's the catch. So anybody that's advising, grandkids are coming to visit, okay. Yes, you do got to be a ride or die for a commander. That's the truth. But in order to become a captain, there are people in the community that you probably won't hear from. They monitor and watch, and that's one of the ways that we actually pick out captains. So just to let you guys know. Now, here's Detroit, and we've been talking about it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but we're going to talk about it today. Here's our lineup. We made some changes in the speakers, and doesn't Matthew Jordan Smith, Terrell Lloyd, those Haj, all those, but we made some of the speakers that you may not know. We made a few changes there. We added Jen Lewis, and you guys know Jen Lewis from North Carolina, our tour that we did there, and she's dope. So those are the changes. Let's talk a little bit about this is our news. So let's talk a little bit about the news and technology, and let's figure out what's going on with that, you guys. There's been some interesting things going on, and yes, that's for sure. So there's been some interesting things going on in technology and news, and one of them, I gotta share this. I saw a SB910 on Craigslist, and they were selling it for $325 on Craigslist. That is a great way to buy equipment, by the way. Craigslist is a great way. So sometimes you can catch somebody, they just want to get rid of it, they need the money, and you can get yourself some really good deals. Okay, so this is called the F-Stop It Now. It's a digital daily that I put out. What's up, Sheila? It comes out every day at 10:30 Pacific Standard Time. I curate this, so what that means is I actually go through and look at all the articles. You'll see me tweeting them out. And the lead article, I usually try to hook you in with a caption. So as I was flipping through this, which I usually do, Lenovo. I don't know if you guys know this, but Lenovo is actually IBM. So that's IBM. So if you're in question about Lenovo, all they did was change the name to Lenovo. And not too much really going on, you guys. Panasonic, Lumix, really good camera. This actually caught my eye. Apple's cash reserves expected to reach $1 trillion. They have $1 trillion. That actually caught my eye. I was like, wow, they must be doing well. And then there's social media information down here. So there's always try to include articles that I research from. And a lot of those articles will come from here where I'll pull information. So if you are definitely trying to up your social media game, this is a really good way to do it right here. So why is live video taking over? Live streaming for social media marketers. I'm going to be talking about this type of information in 2018 quite a bit. I'm going to be on a speaking tour, and I'll be talking about that as it relates to photographers and how to use it. All right, and guess what? I'm teaching 3 classes, the most ever, at Exposure, and one of them will definitely be social media, and I'm going to share with you how to jumpstart your social media. Now, one of the other things that I have going on too, and as you know, I stay pretty busy, you guys, sun up to sundown. I have a podcast, and tonight I'm going to be uploading a podcast on using automatic features. And with automatic features, it's not what you think in terms of the title. Like, oh, Keith, you're just going to talk about auto features and explain it? No, I'm actually going to talk about the psychology. I actually talked about the psychology of auto features and why you should use them. Matter of fact, I'm going to debunk that myth. Um, I've been trying to catch broadcast. Yes. And here's where I'm going to, Steve, you bring up a really good point. You bring up an interesting point about catching the broadcast. Uh, what I'm going to do is there's video and then there's also audio on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a combination of both, kind of like a 50-50, maybe more audio. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it more conversational. Like I'm having a conversation with you, not so much in terms of explanation, but in psychology. People always say, don't shoot with your camera in auto mode. It just hampers your creativity. I'm going to tell you that's not true. That is not true at all. You can shoot in auto. You just got to know why you're shooting in auto and how you're going to shoot in auto and what you expect to get as an end game. So that's what this is really about. It's free. And Steve, you touched on something really important, and that is not everyone can log on at 7:30, which is midday if you're East Coast or overseas. It's almost in the evening. It's an odd time depending on your time zone, and not everybody can log on at 7 p.m. So I think podcasting is the perfect filler for that and the perfect ideal to get you. And here's the other thing. It's going to save you money, because you can download it off your Wi-Fi connection onto your phone. You can get this out of iTunes, and I'm now starting to get it into SoundCloud. It's hard for me. Yes, it is. I totally get it. So this is going to be, I anticipate this podcast to be just as big as or bigger than my Periscope once it gets going. And I've been investing a lot of time and research into understanding what a podcast is and how I want to deliver that information. So there it is. Now, moving onward, you guys. The conference, you can register for the conference here. It's pretty simple. It's why, I'm showing that we're actually full, even, and that we have a wait list. So I haven't registered on here myself. But all you have to do is just click on the register link, click on checkout, and it's going to take you to this page, and it's a timed registration. So you have to fill out all this information in a certain amount of time, or you get dropped out, your spot gets dropped out. And you can go on here and just register for any of these classes. Now, here's Friday, Terrell Lloyd in the main theater. At 11:25, and then Matthew Jordan Smith. So you can just go on here and pick the classes that you want. And if you decide that you don't want to go to that, all you got to do is walk into another classroom. Literally, we're just trying to get an idea of how many people are actually going to show up to the event. And let me see what else we have. Friday. Here's all the classes that we have. You can see there's a ton of them. Ralph Romagera, Thinking Outside the Box, Workflow Necessities with Mike South. That's going to be a really good class because Mike really drills it down. Fundamentals for the Photographer. You guys definitely think about website fundamentals for the photographer. Matthew, Brian Blanken. There's some good stuff in here. I wish I could take all of these classes at one time. Now I know what you guys mean by that. Sean Lee. Everybody in here is so different. Terry White. Here's my social media essentials for the photographer. I'm going to give you some basic things that you need to understand. Wow. Look at this. It's amazing stuff. So those are the classes right there for you that you can take. And, people have been emailing me and saying, hey, Keith, can I do this? I want to do that. I totally get it now because I'd want to take all those classes too. I'd want to hop, but unfortunately, it is what it is. And from what I understand, I have a print on site class here and it's full. Let me see the photo walk. And Lighting basics. Yeah, I have a fundamental lighting class. So it's pretty much full. All right, you guys, let's go into something really important, which is your craft, our craft, photography, interior photography, something that I love just as much as I love shooting portraits. And today we're going to be talking about real estate photos, and I'm going to talk about why why I do the things I do in real estate, and especially as it pertains to light. Now, here's a shot that I made, and it was actually a pretty complicated shot, to say the least. It may not look like it, but it was. This shot was very difficult for me because the interest way that I'm standing in is off centered. It's off centered to the right. And the counter is long, it stretches out into the foreground of the frame. So I had to go in and do a lot of corrections, and I had to make sure that the angle was correct that I was actually photographing from. Now, of all the shots in this home, this one probably took the longest because I needed to show these cabinets in a way that was going to look good, and I also needed to show that backsplash there because that's an important part in the kitchen. I don't want you guys to forget that. A backsplash in a kitchen is important. And yes, you have to shoot multiple exposures. Now, if you look out the window, this really depends on a lot of factors. So you can see it's slightly overexposed. That is intentional because the house next door does not look that good. And those are the tricks of the trade. Unfortunately, this is what you must do. You have to be able to make those decisions because you don't want someone to look at the picture and then they look outside that window and is like, oh man, that house next door has bars on the window. So those are things you have to think about. It is not unethical to do that because you're not hiding it. Well, you're not hiding anything. You just have a window that you can't see out of. So it's a gray area, and I want you guys to understand that this is a gray area. We're not altering anything. We're just creating exposures to keep the emphasis on the interior. Okay. So here's the other challenge that is. This is a super challenge, and I had to create a whole separate white balance for this. And it's not the first time, but if you look up, you'll see that tungsten light, and then you'll also see the daylight coming within. I know that realtors do that too. It's they really do. I'm shooting with a 15 prime. I'm shooting with the 15 prime, and the reason for it is I found that particular lens does not distort as much, especially up close. When you're in tight like this, you can catch a lot of distortion, which will pretty much make life miserable for you. And then you have to be at the right height as well. So separate exposure for this. Yeah, you'll get a lot of barrel distortion, and just a lot of other things too. Sometimes you can catch a little chromatic aberration because the ideal is you get a lot of distortion. You want to stop down because you want it to be you want a little bit more depth, and then for the window and the light that's coming through, the light that's bouncing off of the dishwasher. So you're stopping down, and this is a nightmare if you don't know what you're doing. So I want you guys to think about all these hazards that I just mentioned, and the key to this is you gotta have the right gear, not the most expensive gear, but the right gear. So when I'm shooting in tight, 15. All right, now here's another one. This is more of a tip. Yes, if you want to cut, And I'm going to share something with you guys right after this because I want you to know why I do the things that I do. Okay, so here's what I want you to know. As you can probably tell, I'm standing out of the way of the sliding door, which means that the wall is blocking me out. And I'm literally pressed up because the space that I'm in is so tight. And here's one of those strange situations because that bed, most stagers, they use what's called air mattresses. You guys are familiar with those, or boxes. I don't want to mess with the bed because it might be boxes, and then that means I got to go back and fix it. And no, So I'm squeezed in between the wall in the bed, and I'm pressed up. And the ideal here is just to show what this space looks like. That's the ideal here. I want to show you what that bedroom looks like from this perspective. And as you can see, I'm not shooting from the corner. I rarely shoot from the corners unless I have tall ceilings, because if you look at my roof line, I have a converging line, camera left. You see that converging line that starts in the corner and works its way down? Well, when I set my image for straightness, oh, you're not seeing it. I'm sorry, you guys. That was a rookie mistake. See, I can tell when I get rusty. My bad. Thank you, Steve. Um, hey, I got you. See, practice makes perfect, right? Um, in this case, tethering is not going to help. So remember, although there may be a solution, tethering is not going to help. What will help is if you have, well, you could not a tethering cable, but here's the deal: you can use a cam ranger, go outside in the hallway, and do your thing. But here's the problem with that: you've got to run back and forth to do it, which means you're going to spend more time making adjustments. And you got to go back, you got to look at it, you got to go back. No. So what I do is I'm pressing up against the wall, I'm getting my perspective, and I'm going for it. But tethering does help in tight spots. So I want you guys to know that it's a matter of choice. I need to get this done in a hurry. And here's the challenge. Here's the challenge, you guys. You've got to get it done quickly and efficiently. So one of the ways I'll cut corners is I'll set my camera up with a level, and I've done this so much that sometimes I rarely have to use a monitor. When I say monitor, tether, I rarely have to use it because I know exactly where the camera's sitting. I know exactly where the angle is. This is the pre-visualization part of this whole entire shoot. And then all I'm going to do is press up against the wall, hit the shutter, and I'm out. Yep. But there are times when I absolutely have to use my cam ranger because I just cannot get in the space properly to line up to shoot it. So you have to have some type of cam ranger, tether tools, new device. If somebody can put the name up, I always forget the name. And Tether Tools is definitely one of our supporters. I use the Tether Tool cables and Case Air. Thank you. So the Case Air, which I think is probably a lot better than using the Cam Ranger, because you're minimizing. One, it fits in the hot shoe. That's a plus. And two, it's wireless. All right. Hey, you guys, my phone is bugging. Okay, there we go. Okay, so there it is right there. Now, that's I wanted to give you guys some tips. Let me pause for questions. I'm going to pause for questions. Let's go. So if you have some questions, now's a great time to throw in some questions. Now, I got to tell you, I am really big on straight lines. Like that's so important for me as an interior photographer, straight lines. Now, there are times when you can't do it, but I'm real big on straight lines, as you can see. Love the angle of the reflection. Thank you. Do you guys have any questions for me? If you're just tuning in, Keith B. Dixon, commercial photographer. I basically shoot a lot of stuff across the board, as you can see. And I have been for years. It's part of the workflow. And I keep these brands separate. Keith B. Dixon Architectural, Keith B. Dixon Commercial. So one day I could be shooting this, one day I could be shooting that. Typically, I'm going to show you the front of this house. It looks gorgeous on the inside. Not outside. They could have used a little grooming, but the owner just didn't have time to get it done because they've got to sell this house pretty quickly. So let me show you the outside of the house. This is in Oakland, and the neighborhood it's in a pocket because you hear a lot of stuff about Oakland. This house it sits on a hill, and it's in what we call a pocket. It's a great neighborhood. This house is in a great neighborhood, you guys. I got to tell you. And it looks small on the outside, it was very deceiving. I'm thinking, oh, I'll be out of here in about 45 minutes. But no. So as you can see, I don't use lights because sometimes you just can't fit them in, and it takes longer. So remember, I want to maximize my dollars. Typically, um, yes, Rome, that's exactly where we're going because you see how flat it looks, especially in the front, and it looks kind of busted because it's not groomed. But here's what I want you to know. When you're using light to paint the front of the house, yeah, they definitely got to work on the landscaping. When you're doing that, you have to spend the time to get it right, and that just takes up too much time. So what I figured I was gonna do, you guys, is I was gonna paint this light in myself with some LumeCubes, and here's how we end up. Boom. So I want you to marinate on that, and as you can see, there are two lights, two LumeCubes there illuminating the tree and the other side, because I wanted to take attention away from the fact that those trees did not look that good. Now, I could have created an exposure. No, no, don't take out the wires. That's bad. Don't do that. Now, if those lights weren't there, the bushes would be really flat, and I could create an exposure, but there would be no dynamic light. It would just be a flat light across the front. It would look uninteresting. And as you can see, the daylight temperature on the LumeCube is roughly around 6,000. And let me show you how I'm using these. So as you can see, daylight temperature is at 2,000. There's 10 brightness stops. I'm using number 2 because I don't want it that bright. And I would have used number 1, but when I tried number 1, I didn't see it good enough. So number 2 worked. And then all I'm doing is I have a webcam. And that's the webcam stand. And I like that particular stand because it's telescopic. So you can raise it and lower it. So that's why I'm using that. LumeCube does make stands, and they have lighthouse as well, so you can change the color temperature, either warm it up or cool it down. But this is how I use these LumeCubes, and one of the reasons why I like them and like working with them is because they're versatile. I'm actually being lit right now with the LumeCube, so it's one of the most versatile lights that I actually own. So I use them on my interiors to accent light, like I'm doing here. And as you can see, here's the other light coming right up on the other side. So it's illuminating that bush there. So you see how flat it is without the light. And then you see how bright it is with the light. And then here's let me show you the before. There's our before. So as you can see, that tree is pretty flat. And as it got a little darker, I took the exposure right after. I mean, it's just flattened out. So this is the importance. So this is how you just jazz the front of the house up really quick. And I say really quick, you guys. I'm photographing this house within an hour. Yeah, it doesn't look great. So an hour 15 minutes, because I want to maximize my dollar. Now what's up, Tachi? I'm also charging upwards of 400. So let me be honest with you guys. I don't want you to be alarmed at this. For this particular home right here, hour shooting, and then maybe an hour and a half. What's going on? How you doing? I'm probably looking at about $500. So that's what I'm charging. And it's all based on reputation, relationship, and being able to work and being able to meet a tight deadline, because I literally jumped off an airplane and drove out to this location and shot and made these photos. So I'm going to pause. This is actually 5 photos. This is 5 images merged, and they are 3/4 stops. I think 3/4 stops, you guys. All right, so you can imagine And I wanted to when I made those images at first I was just gonna shoot it and just kind of get out of there. But I wanted to show you guys. You know, most of the time people show you these great looking properties, right? I wanted to show you that sometimes you don't have to use your lights for a great looking property. You definitely have to use them for a property that has like unkept brush in the front to jazz it up, make it distract, to create a lighting distraction, I guess. Any questions? Any questions, you guys? If you see me looking over this way, I'm just looking at your comments on my phone, and I've got these two screens here. And by the way, I'm doing a dual broadcast. What's up, Joe? I'm doing a dual broadcast on YouTube as well. So Michelle and Joseph, they're over on the YouTube side, and also Periscope. So if you're on the YouTube side, I'm doing a broadcast on the Periscope side as well. And then what I'm going to do is I'll take this and edit it depending on the information, and sometimes I'll load that onto my podcast as well, so you can listen to it in your car. All right, you guys. Any questions before we dive out of here? My apologies for the audio. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but we'll definitely get that worked out. So let me just recap for you. Let me recap, and then we're going to dive out of here. So tonight we talked about residential real estate photos, and I shared some tips, and I showed you basically some complicated scenes that you just have to know in order to negotiate. Like this counter space. If you look camera right, you'll notice the counter. It's coming out at you at an angle. That's actually distortion, because the counter is straight. But you have to manage it along with all the vertical and horizontal lines in your image so that you can minimize the distortion. That's what good architectural photographers do. And that's what I'm trying to work towards as an architectural photographer, is keeping my lines straight and showing the property as it's lit the way it's supposed to be seen. Now, in this next photo, this is a matter of choice. Now, you can see the distortion on the left side. It's going to happen because we're fitting squares into circles, so there's always going to be distortion. How you control it and manage it is really the key. So in this particular photo, I want to give the viewer a perspective of, you know, where the closet is, because people are always concerned about closets when they buy houses. Closet space. So what does the room look like? What type of bed can we fit in here? And there's another shot where I basically put the camera up on the dresser and took the shot back, and then changed out the lens and went to something wider, so I could give them a perspective of how they would place a bed in there. Then, as I worked my way, this is an upstairs and downstairs house. As I worked my way through, I realized the front of the house, well, the realtor wanted a dusk shot, which means, you know, they want a sunset shot. I needed to do something different. A 360-degree image would definitely be interesting. It would have been interesting for this property. So that's what I did here, and I decided, you know what? I am going to use some LumeCubes, and I'm going to light the front. So I'm going to do some additive lighting, or as people would say, paint with light. And here's the LumeCube right here. And let me throw the hack at you guys. Thank you for the hearts, by the way. Let me give you a hack. These lights will run for 20 minutes at full power, just like this, just like you see it. But if you want to hack this, all you got to do is get a battery that you would charge your phone with, and plug the USB mini into the back, and it'll run just like it's running now. I've been going for a little over an hour, and I'm lit with this LumeCube now as a main, and guess what? It works perfectly. It doesn't get hot. I can leave it on for the next 2 hours. It'll stay that way. I've done it before. That's a LumeCube hack, you guys. So all I'm doing is I'm using LumeCube makes stands. I want you to know that they do make stands for their light, but I'm using this particular stand because it's telescopic. It raises up and down. So that's why I'm using this particular stand. There's 10 brightness settings, and this is on number 2. I didn't measure the f-stop. I didn't need to, because I was basically using my f-stop to control my light, just as I would with a strobe. And then I placed another light just to the left to basically light up that tree. Same thing, number 2, 6,000, and just went in and worked it to produce this particular image. Yeah, the tungsten would have been definitely a better look. I agree with you. And usually what I like to do is match my tones up, my color tones, especially on these houses. But sometimes you can get away with it, like I did here. And I think that's what's going to be. I can't wait to get my hands on the lighthouse. Lighthouse will allow me to do that. So as soon as I get a couple of those, I'm going to try that out and see, how the color temperature is affected. So you guys, if you're curious about what Rome put up some comments about, basically matching up temperatures. As a photographer, you should always match your temperatures. I'm going to say always match your temperatures. It just looks right. Here, not the case so much, but doesn't really matter as much because it's not a primary light. They're just accent lights. Okay, you guys, there it is right there. Keith B. Dixon. Yep, there it is. And sometimes you can play with your accent lights. Just make sure that they're complementary. So they don't have to always be the same, but they must be complementary. So you don't want to have like purple and blue together. That doesn't make sense. So you want to do purple and gold. So maybe you have gold in the foreground and then you add some blue in the background to complement that some type of way. It works better. It's way more appealing. Or green and gold. Yes, the Mardi Gras color. All right. Any questions before we dive out of here? I think we're just about done. And here's what I want to tell you before we go, you guys. I really hate buying equipment that I don't use. I mean, it's very frustrating. It's one of the most frustrating things you're going to do as a photographer. So, one of the ways I deal with that is always look at the cost, the purpose, the understanding, the application, and the profitability. And the thing that I really enjoy about the LumeCube is it works from a cost standpoint. It serves a very good purpose. I can use it in a lot of different ways. It's small, easy to transport. It's easy to understand. It's a constant light. The application, well, you saw the application, and it streamlined my profitability on the shoot because all I got to do is turn the light on, put it on 2, set it there, set another one there, and I'm done. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Ron. So look, I have a code, and I forgot to put this on the screen. I think I'm gonna do one real quick here, you guys. I'm gonna do one on the fly. Let me put up a. Let me put up a. I'm gonna put up a slide right now, and let's do this really quick, you guys. And what I'm going to do is, this is the code, and the code is Keith B. Dixon ships. Okay, so I'm going to put up a LumeCube code. This will save you a little bit of money. So if you're interested in buying LumeCubes, my goal. And here's the deal. Here's the deal, really. Oops, made a mistake there. I'm working this out as I'm talking to you guys. Here's the deal. We don't make a ton of money off of this stuff. That's not even a point. We just get credit. And when I like a product, I want it to work. I want it to work for you. So that's the ideal here. So that's why I like to give away discount codes, and the ideal is to save you money. So I'm going to put this code up here so you guys can take advantage of it. It's Keith B. Dixon Ships. So if you go to the LumeCube site, All you got to do is use this code right here, Keith B. Dixon Ships, and that'll save you some change. I don't know, maybe taxes or something. Every little bit helps, especially if you're buying 4 of these lights. So Keith B. Dixon Ships, all lowercase. Okay, I didn't have that slide ready, by the way. I just made it up just now, but the code is good. All right, any other questions? Thank you for tuning in. My apologies for the audio mishaps, and I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Tachi, thank you. Appreciate you, and enjoyed your presentation the other day. And actually, I was thinking about it. You know, me and my wife was watching Greenleaf, and I couldn't help but think about that presentation that you guys did at NAB. All right, thank you. Thank you for the hearts. Thank you guys for tuning in. My name is Keith B. Dixon. I'm just a photographer, and I broadcast daily, 5 days a week, some Saturdays and Sundays, 7:35 Pacific Standard Time. So I can come on between 7:30 and 7:35. That's morning motivation off the top of the dome. You guys, I mean, literally, I'm coming in here and I'm inspiring you. And then 7 p.m., you're in the Kilo Bravo Delta Zone, the Keith B. Dixon Zone, 7 p.m., 7705. And you can find a lot of this information on my podcast and YouTube. You guys, let's go. Keith B. Dixon. I will see you in the morning. Peace.